Okay, so first of all, Fahd, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. You're a specialist in Agile project management, which is an area that's very important today, and especially for people who are considering a career in project management. So, can I ask you first just to say a little bit about yourself, to tell the people watching this who you are and what your current role is?
Sure, absolutely, Peter. So I work for an organization called Hub Management Consulting. It's an organization that I founded about 3 years ago. And our organization has four major divisions. The first one is project management. The second one is program management, enterprise architecture, and data management. So four key areas. The value that we provide is that we specialize in Agile project management. And at the moment, I'm actually working on a client for BMO Financial Group. And I've been hired by BMO in order to embed Agile practices and techniques in their traditional project management environment. Aside from that, I am responsible for delivering on projects end to end and helping them with key business initiatives.
Very important. So, for people who aren't familiar with it, could you give an introduction to Agile project management and the key elements of it?
Sure, absolutely. So Agile project management is very unique in the sense that it is like traditional project management. However, you have a few more tools in your tool belt. Yes, so the key thing about Agile project management is to have the ability to look at your environment and identify where you can use Agile practices and techniques, right? Because all areas may not be applicable for Agile practices and techniques. So as an Agile project manager, you have the ability to look at an area and determine whether it is suitable to embed Agile techniques and practices in that environment or not. One of the key things about Agile project management is that you're always thinking about delivering value, and that's one of the key things. And if I go over the four key values of Agile project management, and it gives you an idea of what Agile is all about, the first one is individual interactions over process and tools. The second one is working product over comprehensive documentation. The third rule is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. And the fourth is responding to change over following a plan.
Thank you. And so, is Agile used in particular types of projects? What type of projects have you used it in?
So that's a good question. As an Agile project manager, you're always looking for ways to utilize Agile, right? There's many different methodologies and many different ways to embed Agile practices in your project, which perhaps if I get a chance I can talk about later on. So some of the projects that I've worked on have been within the digital payments portfolio, the image capture portfolio, so for example the digitization of checks, and also on enterprise customer information files, so having one view of the customer at the bank. These projects consist of many different application areas or platforms, and what I do is I find ways to embed Agile practices in each and every one of these different initiatives, and then combine it to make it one cohesive delivery when I actually deliver. But one thing again I just want to mention is that the key thing about Agile is that you're delivering incremental value throughout the project. Unlike in a traditional project where, for example, the value comes at the end with a big bang, in Agile project management, you're delivering incremental value throughout the project.
Thank you. How does the project team work in an Agile project environment? What are the main elements involved in what they do or in how they work?
So that's a really good question, because I think this is one of the reasons why teams enjoy working in Agile. Individuals enjoy working in Agile teams because it's a self-empowered team, and that's very important in the Agile project. Is that it's not a command and control type environment, right? It's empowering your team to be self-organizing. Say, hey, this is what we have to do. Let's make sure we all have a common goal. And now it's up to you to figure out how we're going to make that happen. So its empowerment is very important, and self-organizing teams.
Thank you. So I understand that Agile projects are made up of sprints. Can you talk about what sprints are and why they're important?
Sure. So sprint is a terminology that comes from the Scrum methodology. And what a sprint is, it's a time-boxed period in which you deliver an incremental piece of value. So I think that's key. So within, let's say, for example, the average sprint is anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks, more commonly 2 weeks. And what happens is that at the end of that 2 weeks, you produce something, an incremental piece of value, and then that value is demoed to either your client or the stakeholders involved. So I think that's very important. And that's the purpose of a sprint, is so that you can complete the work and then demo it afterwards.
Okay, and you mentioned there the Scrum approach. What is the Scrum?
Okay, so that's a really good question, and I do get this question quite often. And what Scrum is one of the Agile methodologies. So I think it's really important to understand that Agile, think of it as an umbrella, and underneath that umbrella you have all these different methodologies that you could use to implement Agile. So that's key, and that's very important. And Scrum happens to be one of those methodologies. However, it happens to be the most prevalent methodology, and the reason being it's very well defined. So it's very easy to follow, and hence that's why it's been very successful.
Thank you. And so what do you think are the main benefits of using an Agile approach to project management?
So I think the number one, the key benefit is the fact that a more satisfied customer or client. And the reason being is because Agile is very collaborative, okay? And there's regular collaboration with the key stakeholders or the client for that matter. So what you do is you get feedback instead of having feedback towards the end of the project when you deliver, that final big bang, which would be the case in a traditional environment. With Agile, every 2 weeks or so, you're getting some feedback at a regular interval. So I think that's very important. And then some of the other items that I mentioned were, continually delivering value, as opposed to just waiting till the end and then delivering in one big bang. And then also frequently delivering. So you keep your client more engaged by having frequent deliveries.
That makes sense. And on the other side of things, what's hardest, what's most challenging about Agile?
Oh, most challenging would be, I would say, adoption, okay? And the reason why adoption sometimes is challenging, actually, before I mention that, I do want to say that Agile is very hot. So everybody is interested in learning more and more about it. However, there is still that set of people that find it difficult to adopt it. And one of the primary reasons for lack of adoption is the lack of understanding, right? So people think you either have to be Agile or you don't have to be Agile. But that's not the case. Agile is basically a methodology, it's a mindset, and you use it in any and on any project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So people working in an Agile project, how motivated do you feel that they are, and why is that important with Agile?
Yeah, so I think that motivation is very important because Agile is one of those things where you empower your team with more responsibility, and if they're not motivated, then the results will not be as they would be if they were motivated. And also, motivation is important because theoretically, you don't define what their role is. You let the team self-organize and build and do what works best for the team, right? So for example, a developer or whatever the role may be, the individual may have a multifunction role. While before, in a traditional project, they would have had a very specific role, like you are the QA person and you are not the developer, you are the developer and you are not supposed to do any sort of testing.
That makes sense. And so my final question is, what advice would you have for people who are new to Agile that will help them to be more successful with it?
Okay. I would say, right, I would say that the most important thing that you should remember is that Agile is actually a mindset. And this is very important. It is a mindset. So it's not about doing Agile. It's not a set of steps. It's about being Agile, right? Having that agility. That's very important. The other day I had a lawyer come to me and said, Fahd, I'd like to embed Agile practices in my environment. Can you help me determine where Agile practices are applicable? So it's really like a mindset. But for all of you that actually want to get nitty gritty and read more about this, I would suggest that first of all, perhaps take a course to familiarize yourself with Agile. I mean, sometimes it does seem like an abstract idea, so it's very important to, have that literature in front of you. The internet is a great source, of course, like for anything else. So I do recommend doing a lot of forum reading when you do have a chance. Like I said, it is fairly new. Agile is leading edge, so you won't find as much material on Agile as you would like. But last but least, pick up a book, read case studies. And you know what? We're always there to help as well, Hub Management Consulting. So if you do have any specific questions, we're always glad to help and evangelize the benefits of embedding Agile practices and techniques in your project management environment.
That's great, Fahd. It provides a good introduction to Agile for people who are not familiar, and also for people who are maybe a bit familiar but want to learn more about it. And details of how they can contact you will be posted along with this video. So thanks again for taking the time to talk to me and to record this video.
You're welcome, Peter. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come here. Thank you.